It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 462. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Happy New Year.
Kodra.
What year is it?
And Thalen.
Hi there. It's 2022 for the third time.
It's 2023.
Wait, I thought it was still 2020.
Oh no.
We just keep doing it over and over. Eventually we might get it right.
So in part, we didn't have shows for the last 2 weeks because of me. Because I was the one who was still very knee-deep in vacation mode, even though we had some folks available. So apologies about that. But we're back, and we are going to do a Games of the Year show at some point. I think starting on the 20th.
I believe that's the plan.
That's the current plan.
Yeah.
And we're gonna remember what we did last year that made us enjoy this so much better and split it up into a couple of parts.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
And not like for you, the few listeners who listen to this, but for us as well. We're not going to record a 4-hour marathon podcast, which we've done in previous years, and everyone decided was a mistake.
Yeah, like originally the Games of the Year duopoly was to hide the gap of Ash and I being at PAX South.
Is PAX South still happening?
No, it's been gone for a while.
Oh,
it didn't start the pandemic.
Yeah, it is next week, or it would have been next weekend if it were still around.
Sad because I kept meaning to get down there for another one, and
it was really fun. Like it was a cool show.
Is East still around?
Yeah, East is still around. So is Oz.
Yeah, I think Oz is entirely too vibrant to ever go away. But yeah, so Grace, Dave the Diver, Dredge crossover.
Yay.
Tell me about this thing that I've not touched yet.
This thing is a thing that is just aimed squarely at my heart. And it's free. So if you have Dave the Diver, you should go get it. It's good. It's modest, I would say, in terms of content, but in terms of hitting the mark for a crossover with Dredge, it is spot on. It allows, I guess, so every few days, once a week or so, the fog rolls in. And
oh, good.
And when the fog rolls in at night, you can actually take your little boat out and explore like you would in Dredge, and actually drive the boat around. Very similar to Dredge, you can find Dredge spots and get items that way. And then there are a couple different pools that you can dive in. And so it's all night diving, and all of the fish are just straight out of Dredge. It's delightful. There's nothing like super, new or innovative here. It is solid, like Dave the Diver gameplay, but perfectly Dredge flavored. And on those nights, when you open up the sushi bar, you get inundated with hooded figures who want to buy and eat the weird fish.
Definitely not cultists.
Definitely not. Yeah. Totally normal folks with hoods. And they eat all your weird fish, and when the night is over, nobody else wants those horrible fish, so the trader comes and takes them away and buys them from you. So it's decent money, and it's just really fun. I think I'm missing 1 or 2 of the fish I still haven't caught yet, but because you have to wait for the fog to roll back in again. You can only dive in one of the spots each time. So there's a few more fish that I need to find to be my completionist self. But it's very quaint and just perfectly on brand. I love it.
So I'm curious, do you lose when you go out at night and dredge? Do you have a shortened sushi time, like when you go and do night dives?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it takes up part of your evening the same way as night dives, but it's definitely lucrative because like most of the dishes that you make from the weird cursed fish are pretty expensive, and the fact that the trader buys them all the unused fish from you at the end of the night helps really make up the difference. So you go out and just clean up all of the fish that you can find while you're swimming around. Even if you can't serve them all, you'll still make a decent amount of money. So well worth it.
Now, have you beaten this game?
Yeah, I beat the story, and honestly, like the fact that this came out made me just go back and poke around some more, because it also introduced a new weapon, so I wanted to find that and build my own and get it upgraded. And I've just been I enjoy the gameplay of the game so much that I have been trying to be a little bit completionist about all the different kinds of sushis, and that is time consuming.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially if you're like trying to get high rank in all of the sushis or the meals. Getting high rank in the meals seems like a pain.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. Also, you like the artisan's flames that you use to unlock the recipes. You can only get a max of 5 per night.
Yup.
And there's a lot of recipes.
Oh, that's good to know. I was gonna, because I am still on the trek of this game. I have just recently made the cold place hot and can now go deeper. Or I figured out how to. No. The cold place was hot, and I figured out how to cool it off so I could go deeper. How close am I to the end of the game?
You're getting there.
Okay, it feels like I have been playing this game a lot.
Yeah. I think you're getting pretty close.
It is a wild trip. They have way more mechanics in this game than they needed to.
Yes.
It just keeps unfolding and unfolding and unfolding.
Yeah, it had been a bit since I played, and I don't know whether this was part of the Dredge DLC or if this was just some updates that had gone in since the last time that I played, but at this point, I have a guy who runs my farm for me, so I don't have to spend quite as much time on that, which is helpful. There have been a couple other quality of life kinds of things which have been nice. I unlocked crab traps, which I don't remember being in before.
I've unlocked the crab traps, yes.
And what else was I just messing with? Oh, a few other things. I like the gun that you get from the Dredge content. It's as it should be. It is a vampiric gun that drains life and gives you oxygen.
That's nice. I like using the gravity gun, the rocket, the grenade launcher upgrade that turns it into a gravity well.
Mm-hmm. I haven't messed with that one that much.
It is my go-to weapon of choice.
While I was clearing the game, I mostly used variations on the sniper rifle. But now that I am in sort of collecting, farming mode, trying to catch all of the different fish, and especially to fill out the little collector's cards, you have to get them at 3-star rank. So I've been making friends with the upgraded dart gun and the upgraded net gun.
Yeah, and probably you've got a lot of the upgraded what's it called? The scuba, the device that comes and fetches fish for you.
Yeah, so I think I can use that 3 times per dive.
That's nice. I'm still at, I think, 2 times per dive because they made that one very expensive.
Yes. Yeah, I maxed out all of the things I could buy in the dive shop, and now I'm splitting my money between upgrading weapons and training all of my many staff.
Now, I'm curious, do you have a number of staff you send out on daily errands, or do you just use the staff that you need for the shop?
I definitely have staff that I send out on errands. I've actually now hit the end. I've hired all the staff that are available. I went to go and try the hire thing again and was like, we're done here. So now I'm just sort of upgrading what I have. And I send them out just as often as possible to go and fetch more ingredients. Because trying to upgrade, especially the dishes, when you need the fancy ingredients is
that sounds miserable.
But if you train your staff, some of them who have a lot of ranks in procure can bring back like 10 or 12 items just by themselves, so it's not as bad.
Does the game still reward you at this point with like new events?
So there were a few events, and after I beat the game, there are a few things that I still hadn't done yet that were side events. But since I've completed those, there haven't been much. There are definitely like little events. I got all of the 3-star fish from the base version of the game, and there's a little event that happens with that, and I'm still working on the Fishmon, so I still have a few more in-game weeks to go before I can get all of those, and I'm sure there's some stuff associated with that, but there haven't been a lot of just random events or like contests in the sushi bar or things like that for a little bit.
Does that mean the TV show arc wraps up eventually?
Yeah. But yeah, I know this game definitely sucked me back in again. If you haven't tried it, I don't know why you haven't tried it. You should do it. And the Dredge stuff is just extra bonus fun.
Super Mario RPG, is this the remake or the original? I assume the remake.
The remake, yeah. I picked it up, and I've played a little of it since picking it up. My son latched onto it, and in fact, just like 2 minutes ago, ran in to tell me that he just beat Smithy. So the final boss of the game. He has finished the game.
Wow.
Yeah. So now, admittedly, I mean, he beat the game. That's what matters. I often had to bite my tongue watching him play the game because he plays RPGs differently than I do.
How so?
Large periods of time where one or more members of his party were lying unconscious on the ground.
Oh,
heavy reliance on consumables to keep going. Which I mean, that's what they're there for.
I was about to say, I feel like he has learned how to play RPGs correctly, unlike the rest of us.
Yeah, honestly, that's part of why I bit my tongue. Was like, don't want him to be like me, saving up 99 of these things and never using them. That's no, use them. Let's go. I did have to a couple of times remind him that, hey, when you come across a shopkeeper that has armor or weapons, you should check and see if they have anything better for any of your guys. Because
whoever ends the game with a full stack of eye drops wins.
He he had literally gotten the 6th star, and then was like doing something with looking at his people, and I realized he did not have any weapons for Geno. None. He didn't even pick up the free one right at after you get Geno. He just didn't have one. So, but yeah. But no, he beat the game.
I got this for Christmas and have not actually gotten into it yet because I got 2 RPGs for Christmas and been mostly playing the other one.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It drives my wife crazy because when she was young, her brother would play Final Fantasy, and take up the TV playing Final Fantasy, and she would have to sit and watch while her brother played Final Fantasy, and she does not have fond memories of that. And that what she said to me was like, this looks like some Final Fantasy bullshit. I was like, that's exactly what this is. But now I'm trying to decide like what
I mean, literally Mario did a Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
I mean, that's more of a roguelike, but might try it.
It's RPG-ish, and he'll be beneficial by knowing how to use consumables.
I mean, that's true, yeah. But yeah, I was thinking like from here, what would be the best Final Fantasy to go to? Like I have 1 through 6 because I've picked up the remakes of that.
Maybe?
4.
Yeah, maybe 4 or 6.
Like 4 is a very
4 is not my
straightforward-
favorite, but it is one of the most beginner friendly of them.
Yeah, because he was saying that he might try Final Fantasy 1. I was like, well, you can, but remember that's the first one. There's a lot of stuff that you got used to in Mario RPG that it didn't exist yet. So I said maybe 4 since it was the first Super Nintendo one. The other possibility I was kind of thinking maybe 9, in part because it's got the more cartoony character designs that he might like better. I don't know. Other option would be
possibly
like maybe one of the Dragon Quest games. Although I don't want to have to like explain to him what Puff Puff is. Because I was like, Dragon Quest XI is a lot of fun. That would be good, But then, like half of Jade's abilities, I would feel a little awkward.
I mean, there's also the option of all of the other Paper Mario games.
He does have, because I have Super Paper Mario, and I think 1,000 Year Door on the Virtual Console.
I don't think so because it's a GameCube game.
Oh, it wouldn't be then. Oh no, Super Paper Mario is on the Virtual Console.
The first Paper Mario for N64 is on the N64 Virtual Console.
Yeah, so that's on the Virtual Console, and I have 1,000 Year Door for the GameCube. So he's played it a bit, but that one he's played a bit, off now and again, off and on. This like he picked it up back late last week, and it's basically been his primary focus of his video game playing each day since then. Like occasional breaks for some Mario Maker, but other than that, Mario RPG. So yeah, I'm kind of proud of him.
This sounds like you've officially hatched a full-fledged gamer at this point. If grasped this thing, made it their own.
Yep. Yeah, because I installed. I didn't like try to get him to play it or anything because I wasn't sure, what he would think of it, how he would like it. I just, played some of it myself, and he watched a little as I was playing it, and then he just grabbed it and ran with it.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
that's rad.
But I may need to grab Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and see what he thinks of it. He's been showing a little more interest in Pokemon again recently, so yeah, he might like that.
I mean, Secret of Mana might not be a bad.
Don't go for the Switch Secret of Mana. If you're gonna play for one of those games, just pick up Trials.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The Secret of Mana remake is too faithful, I would like to say, to the original Secret of Mana. And they hadn't quite figured out how action RPGs work yet.
I can see how that could be a problem, yeah.
Or maybe a Zelda?
I mean, he's played quite a bit of different Zelda games.
Okay.
He hasn't... I wonder what he would think of Wind Waker.
If you have the online virtual pass, or whatever, the extra online expansion pass, I think or the Game Boy Advance one is on there.
Yeah,
Minish Cap.
Yeah, Minish Cap is on there.
That's one of the best Zelda games.
Real good.
Yeah. Period.
I think that and then the Oracle ones are on there.
Those are a little harder to get into, but yeah.
Yeah, Minish Cap might be good.
And Ash, you're back into Monster Hunter World.
I am back into Monster Hunter World.
Who all have you dragged back into it?
I am also back into Monster Hunter World.
And I think Tam mentioned also giving it a shot. So I missed Iceborne.
Yeah, same.
Like, it came out and I bought it, but I never actually played it.
I made it 1 or 2 bosses into it.
And my thought was, whatever, I'll pick it up on PC. And then that just never happened. But when my cousin's interested in Monster Hunter, after hearing me talk about Monster Hunter a whole bunch, and decided to pick up World, I'm like, yeah, World is cheap and World is good, so that's a perfectly fine game to start with. It's also, just going to say it, a lot more beginner-friendly than Rise is.
Oh, yeah.
Just in its structure.
That's kind of fascinating to me and a little bit horrifying.
Rise went back to how the structure of these games were before World, mostly, which makes me think, and Capcom seems to be aware that Rise is less popular, so I suspect Wild is going to be closer to World than Rise.
Yeah, because Monster Hunter World it was definitely the most accessible up to that point.
It was the one that got me into it, and I've now played several of them since then, but I still prefer World.
It was the one that actually became a success in the West.
Yes. Generations did okay, but not that great. And World just kind of completely blew every previous Monster Hunter game out of the water. So yeah, we're starting with Monster Hunter World again. I basically never played this on PC, so I'm starting over. And still trying to figure out what weapons to main. Thinking since this is, on the PC with a mouse, I'm just going to go light heavy bowgun, and that's just going to be it. I'm going to call it a day out there with that.
That's a reasonable option. Using bow in general is so much better on PC.
So I am curious, because I am playing light bowgun right now for the first time, and boy, this feels kind of shallow to me, coming from a person who played Hammer, which was not the most complex, and Dual Blades, which, there was a couple of cool moves I knew how to pull off, and I'm wondering if there's something hidden to light bowgun at this point that I'm missing.
The complexity in the bowguns, to a lesser extent the bow, but definitely the bowguns, is in supported ammo types, and in the complexity is not in the hunt, it's in the preparation for these two weapons. Which ammo types you bring, which ammo types you use.
Aha, got it.
Right. They can do more to juice their performance based on, how they prepared for the fight than most of the other classes can.
Say this bowgun can shoot spread 2, but its recoil is really terrible. Maybe you want to add a recoil mod so this is actually good at shooting spread 2. And that's going to affect what you do in the hunt mostly. You're going to be using spread 2 and probably not Pierce 2. Because Pierce 2 is probably going to have really bad recoil and really bad reload. The special ammo means more for the light bowgun than the heavy bowgun. The Wyvern Blast Mines are kind of really important, relatively speaking. Whereas Wyvern Snipe and Wyvern Heart are nice to have, but usually not how you're doing most of your damage. Quite frankly, I like the heavy bowgun quite a lot. The heavy bowgun can equip a shield as a mod. And while initially this is kind of not great, because if you get hit and block, you're still going to lose all of your stamina. You can use multiple shield mods, and then your guard is almost as good as the weapons that actually have shields, which is good for a weapon with this low mobility. Heavy bowgun basically has a Dark Souls fat roll instead of a normal roll. It's very slow. It goes a very long distance compared to other weapons, but it is not fast, and your walking speed with this weapon is terrible. So having a shield is kind of a nice thing to have if you intend to be right in the monster's face, if you're using a spread-focused bowgun. I have sworn that I'm going to eventually learn how to use Gunlance, which to me is the coolest weapon in the game, but it is also my worst weapon. Just straight up my worst weapon overall.
Yeah, I suck at it. I've tried it, but I suck at it.
Which is funny because I'm really good at Lance, but they're different enough that I just can't do it.
Yeah, I never could get the hang of Gunlance.
I think when I was last playing, the one I got really into was Switchblade.
Switch Axe is fun.
Switch Axe is so much fun.
Yeah, Switch Axe.
Once I discovered Switch Axe and got the hang of it, that was my main.
Anyways, yeah, I have been also having fun. The interesting thing about this game is just because you have a quote unquote gun doesn't mean you really have a ranged weapon.
That is true.
That's hard to get used to.
It is technically a ranged weapon, but the ranged weapons have a concept called critical distance, which means that you need to be pretty close, usually, to do maximum damage. But not too close. That cuts your damage again.
Well, that's why all of my ranged weapons have a melee attack.
They do. The melee attack on light bowgun I actually use sometimes. The melee attack on heavy bowgun, I forget exists. Also on PC, it is basically impossible to do, requiring you to press mouse button 4 and R at the same time.
I remember I fiddled with the keybinds quite a bit to get something that felt a little bit more comfortable.
That's the other thing. When this game came out on PC originally, its default controls were trash. Like, just absolutely trash. We were trying to play with a mouse and keyboard.
I do.
And they have done a lot of work on that particular front.
Okay, so maybe their default keybinds are better than they were. They were very not good. Maybe I'll reinstall it, because like I remember playing the hell out of this game, enough so that I leveled on PlayStation and then I leveled again on PC.
I mean, it's
I played a lot of this game on PlayStation. It's a very good game.
I did a lot of the various events as well, farming whatever gear you could get from them.
The big gold raid monster, whatever it was called.
God, what was it?
Kulftaroth.
Yeah.
I never did the other raid monsters, though. There are several more. Behemoth from FF14 is one. Safijiva, the grown-up form of Xenojiva, is one. I did a lot of Xenojiva. Xenojiva had a very important set for range of weapons. I have no idea if that's still the only way to get that effect. But if it is, then I'm going to be farming Xenojiva a lot again.
I just remember that the catch-up weapons were so much better than a lot of what I had, even though I had farmed my ass off to get
the
decent
catch-up
weapons.
armor.
They start you with catch-up armor, like if you start the game now, and that is very, very, very good.
Yeah, like several of the pieces of the catch-up armor were better than things I farmed bosses for non-stop to get.
The catch-up armor is not better than where I finished my PlayStation file, but it is better than what I had most of the way to that point. Like Divine Blessing 3, very good. Health Boost 3, excellent. And then Marathon Runner, which is just nice for, it's really nice if you're playing Hammer or Dual Blades.
Right. So speaking of returning to games, Bobby Kotick's last day at, Blizzard was the 29th of December.
Hooray!
On the 30th, I played WoW. And I've been playing WoW off and on. I'm still playing a lot of PoE, but so like I fired back up and even have been playing the original Belghast, my human warrior that was a full expansion behind, but was able to catch up and start Dragonflight pretty quickly. I feel like this is a different game than the last time I played it. I mean, it's still World of Warcraft, but lessons have been learned. The way that the content is structured in Dragonflight is just more enjoyable. World building in Dragonflight is really good. I think the piece that has really made it enjoyable for me personally, though, is like the talent system that they implemented with Dragonflight is actually interesting and fun. And it's not just like 3 picks and 5 rows of that, with each one of those pretty much having a correct choice.
And it's not full of false choices?
It is not full of false choices. A lot of them are, like, it's wild because there's a lot of active abilities that are on the talent tree that you can just choose not to have. Like, if you don't want Challenging Shout, don't spec into it. You don't have Challenging Shout. There's a lot of just wild choices that you can path your way through, and like it's a pretty deep talent tree. And also like you can respec anytime you're in town. No currency required or anything. You just change your talents. If you want to have 30 different specs, you can have 30 different specs. If you like, I carefully chose my protection talent tree because that's the one I cared the most about. But then this afternoon I did some LFR and I didn't want to do it as a tank. So I went out to Wowhead and downloaded the code for an optimized Fury build and pasted it into the import, which is just part of the default talent system. And it spec'd my character for Fury, and I was up and running in a few minutes.
Now, was that all free?
That's all part of the.
Is there a price to respecking?
No price at all. You just have to be in town, and it's not that you like, you don't even have to respec. You can just say, okay, I want to create a new profile and call it, whatever you want to differentiate for that profile, and then start building your talents out. And now you can flip to that at any point, and it'll remember your hotbars from when you were in that spec previously.
Oh, so it's like the Guild Wars 2 version of this.
Yeah. It's like equipment sets and talent sets or whatever from Guild Wars 2, but it's like all in one system, and it's just a free part of the game. Like, there's no currency cost associated with it. And like, some of them are pretty wild. It's essentially a greatest hits collection of all the things that you remember during the various phases of WoW. I only know Warrior, really. And I remember I played a little bit in Alpha, and I remember playing a Blood Knight as well. And like, it had a bunch of things that I recognized from previous versions of the game. Like, Warrior has Shield Charge, which is a remnant of the brief period of time when there was a sword and board DPS stance for warriors called Gladiator Stance. That doesn't exist, but some of the fun abilities that you had back then, like Shield Charge, that's like a significant damage ability. That's cool. There's a thing called Titanic Throw, which specs Heroic Throw, which is single target, to hit the 5 nearest targets to wherever you're throwing. So it basically gives
that being a talent or an item effect or something before.
I think it was. So it was something. It existed in some form, but it basically gives warriors something to compete with, like Paladin Shield Bounce for pulls. I don't know. There's just like, there's a lot of fun in, I want to try all this out and I want to play with a spec. And there's so many choices that you have to, by nature, make hard choices. Like, I don't care about this right now, so I'm going to go down this path, right? I don't care about that. And essentially there's a warrior talent tree, and then there's a spec talent tree. And they both make up what your build is, but like, some of the things in the warrior talent tree change slightly depending on which of the 3 specs you're in. I do have to, like, one of my complaints so far is dragon flying is good, and it is a good addition to the game, and also gives you access to flying almost instantly in the expansion, which was always a problem in WoW, that you didn't get to fly until months later, or actually years later in a lot of cases, when the final patch gave you the ability to get the Flight Master achievement and fly in that area. It is essentially WoW trying to do Guild Wars 2 flying mounts. The problem with it is they copied the homework, but they didn't understand the assignment.
It feels like a lot of people were doing some copying of Guild Wars 2, since you've mentioned 2 systems that sound ripped straight from it.
Oh, there's another one. Like, and this one, there's another I can't speak entirely to, but I'm seeing the underpinnings of it. But, so basically, like, the flying mount is, what if you took a Griffin and a Sky Scale and mashed them together, but neither worked as well as the individual mounts from Guild Wars 2? The biggest problem that I have is that, regenning stamina so that you can use abilities that either boost you up into the air or make you go faster is just really slow. Whereas, like, at a Sky Scale, you can stop off on a ledge for a few seconds and get back stamina and go up again and stop. And, like, you can kind of have a stagger step, flight path across the zone. And it feels very fluid. And the summoning of the mount in Guild Wars 2 feels very fluid. For whatever reason, the dragon riding mount animation is longer than just a normal summoning animation for a mount. So I am forever hitting the flying mount and then running off before it's finished summoning and turning back into running.
Oh.
But that's just like that's a me. I'm not used to mounts taking as long to summon as they do in WoW problem. Like I said, it's better than not having flight, and it is very nice to zip around through quests, and boost over top of obstacles that you don't want to deal with. But it is neither as good as the Sky Scale or as good as the Griffin. It's probably more akin to the Griffin though, because like hovering isn't really a thing, but if you're not going fast enough, it does the Sky Scale rapidly losing altitude thing, but just straight down, not gliding forward, just straight down. So it's kind of awkward in that aspect, but like I give them credit for reaching out and looking at other games and taking inspiration from them.
I mean, Blizzard's always been pretty good at that.
Yeah, they don't do it first. They do it polished historically.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a good system. I hope they improve upon it. Them adding it to the rest of the game will be on the 16th. There's a patch where they're adding dragon flying to the entire game, and that will be pretty good. Because I've gotten used to using the mount now, and it's awkward when I'm anywhere other than the Dragonflight areas, because I have to use a totally different mount. Like, it's not that the mount is a ground mount, it just doesn't summon in any other area of the game. So if you've set your mount keybind to your dragon riding mount, like you have to have a whole other keybind for your rest of the game mount. I don't know, like they seem to have gotten better at easing people into new content. So at this point, like this is at the end of the Dragonflight cycle for the most part. I think there's a couple significant patches left, but they've added 2 new expansion areas of the game, which feel more like new areas and less like disconnected limbs. I don't know how to best explain that, but like post-patch expansion area in WoW have always felt thoroughly disconnected from the rest of the game. Like Argus or the underwater area in BFA, Nazjatar, or was that in Legion?
I think that was Legion.
Yeah. But like they don't feel like they're part of the same game world, sort of.
I mean, it goes back pretty far in terms of WoW's
like
expansion.
The Dragon Island and the Timeless Isles, and
yeah, I'm glad to hear that they're sort of integrating things a little bit better. It sounds more fun.
Yeah, like they feel like all of these areas were planned out from the beginning, and they may have lowered the scope of the initial zones so that they could easily add additional zones after the fact, because there's 4 zones in the Dragonflight expansion, and then there's an there's an underground area with these amazing mole men that are cowboys that ride snails, and then supposedly there's an Emerald Dream area that I've not found, but it's like the actual Emerald Dream. But they all feel like they're cohesive, and you can, like, I think you have to go through a portal to get to the Emerald Dream, but the underground area you can just fly to. It's just part of the game. So it feels more akin to like Broken Shore did. But the other system that, like, I've not done it yet, but it feels like they've copied the homework on zone metas.
Oh.
Because, like, there's a couple of these zones that I have seen something going on that seems very similar to a Guild Wars 2 zone meta, where every so often, like, an event will be happening and it has multiple phases and multiple groups doing things at once, working towards an objective, and then a big boss fight happens. In a Guild Wars 2 type way, rather than, oh, hey, there's just this dude that spawned and now we're going to beat him up for a mount or whatever. You know, so it's not like Shaw of Fear where there's just a thing that occasionally spawns And if you happen to be on at that time, you can fight it. There's this whole sequence of events that leads up to the culmination of a boss. So I don't know, like it definitely feels like Dragonflight is kind of the we borrowed a bunch of stuff from Guild Wars 2 expansion. And I can't say that it's a bad thing. Like it definitely works in the context of WoW.
Good game to steal from.
Well, and it's also like it's a game that a lot of the WoW core probably didn't play. So some of these things are new concepts to them, at least. I don't know. I'm enjoying myself mostly from a mechanical aspect. Like the version of the Protection Warrior that I'm playing right now is a very fun version of it.
Is it still hotbar combat though?
Oh, it's still hotbar combat. Like, and that's still the awkward part of it for me. Like, I wish it were more action combat. But you know, like it's the same problem that I have right now with Final Fantasy 14 is I'm just not used to the pace of hotbar combat. It would be better served to not be hotbar combat. And oh my God, my kingdom for an active dodge. I am so used to dodge rolling out of things. Also, my kingdom for better visualization on the ground of where things end. That hasn't gotten any better.
Oh, that was going to be one of my questions when you were talking about moving towards action combat. Like, in order to have action combat, you need to telegraph things more clearly.
It's still WoW fuzzy-edged telegraphs where you're not really sure if you're in the thing or you're not in the thing.
Oh.
But I mean, it's, you know, they're not going to change overnight, but this expansion feels like it's a step in the right direction. I want to at some point try another class to see how it feels. But yeah, I mean, like I have been pleasantly surprised at how much I've been enjoying it.
That's great.
Other than LFR, I've not done anything with other human beings, and LFR was, as always, a quiet, completely silent run through a raid.
I mean, it's not always that way, so I think that's a good thing that it was quiet.
The economy is completely screwed. Any of you want to take a wild guess how much a BOE epic drop from a raid costs now?
From a LFR raid or from like a serious business raid?
I assume from a serious business raid because you don't get BOEs from LFR.
Okay, I'm gonna guess 10,000 gold.
Oh. 1.2 million gold.
What?
Good grief.
Numbers have lost all meaning.
Do mobs drop things in quantities of gold now?
10 to 20 gold at a time.
Oh, 10 to 20 gold per mob? Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's an Arcanite crystal in this economy?
There was a quest that was up in a world quest that gave me 1,000 gold.
Oh my goodness.
So inflation is wild.
Grief.
Like
we were excited when mobs dropped 8 silver back in my day.
No, literally, if a mob dropped silver, it was worth farming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, like that's just nonsense to me. That that's where we're at. I mean, they keep putting in multi-million gold mounts to try and act as gold sinks, but I mean, it seems like inflation is definitely a problem.
I mean, so are they having to put in more ridiculous gold faucets just so that newer players can keep up with the super rich? Is that what's going on?
That's all I can think of is that must be the problem.
Yeah.
I wish that they would implement something like the Guild Wars 2
I'm rich, title.
No, the market. like I really do not like having to reset auctions every so often. That feels real bad. I am so used to games that you just put an item up and it sells whenever it sells.
I am more and more enamored with the Path of Exile model of just blow up the economy every 3 months.
Yeah.
It takes a special kind of game to be able to do that, though. Like, that's not as people discovered with Diablo 4. Like, progress in your game needs to have a different pace than progress in most MMOs does.
Right.
Yeah.
For that to be a reasonable thing.
Blowing up the economy on a regular basis doesn't seem MMO compatible.
Although, like, I leveled so fast.
I have to say, though, I feel like you say blowing up the economy isn't MMO compatible, but if you're putting a mob that drops 20 gold into your game, based on what I recall, that sounds like blowing up the economy.
Well,
like that is a completely different economy than the one I'm used to.
The biggest problem that I think is facing WoW right now is a couple of years ago, I think it was ahead of Shadowlands, they did a level squish. So
it was ahead of Shadowlands, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like 1 to 50 is pre-Shadowlands, 50 to 60 is Shadowlands, 60 to 70 is Dragonflight. Now, what they did to make that make sense, and it was actually kind of interesting, is basically like you run through the starter island and then you choose your expansion of choice. If you want to level in Burning Crusade, you level in Burning Crusade. If you want to play Wrath, you play Wrath. And that was kind of a cool model because it made all of this content that they have not useless, right? So, and they knew that they didn't want to force everyone to go through every expansion. But they've not really done anything to maintain that. So in theory, what should have happened when Dragonflight was released is that they squish all the stuff back down and you're doing 50 to 60 again. And now Shadowlands becomes one of the options of getting from, 10 to 50. But that's not really what happened. Though from what I understand, if you just don't want to ever touch Shadowlands and you're leveling a new character, you can easily get to 60 without ever touching Shadowlands. I know I did all of the levels that would come, like basically 50 to 60 in 1 and like a third of a zone of Shadowlands. I was leveling so fast. And even in Dragonflight, I did 60 to 70 and still had 1.5 zones left to do. So they've definitely sped the leveling up. So I don't know, like I could maybe do a season of an MMO.
Just not terribly compatible with things like persistent characters.
No, it isn't.
This is where I'm coming in because this is how I play Path of Exile. But I kind of have a persistent character in Path of Exile. It's just I delete it and rebuild it every single time. I don't know that I hate that idea for an MMO. Like, this character is in the seasonal branch. Like, hey, the season's over. Your character, retains certain things that are non-gameplay impacting from the previous seasons, but now they're reset back to start.
New Game Plus.
So you keep all your cosmetics, you keep all your toys, all your mounts, you just level a new character through the new expansion. I really think that could work.
I mean, it is what I am now doing.
I still think that someone's going to come along and create the Destiny of MMORPGs, where they're going to nail it and they're going to make an action combat game that's a little bit lighter weight than a traditional MMORPG with all of the collection elements that people love, cosmetics, pets, whatever, and it's going to reset on a seasonal model.
I was going to say, I feel like the saying you're the Destiny of an MMO, what does that mean?
That's just
exactly?
Destiny.
That's just Destiny. Isn't Destiny an MMO?
Yeah, Destiny's a shooter, though. I mean, like a more traditional MMORPG, not MMO FPS.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're getting at.
And I thought Wayfinder might have been that, but not
it's still a
really.
They didn't stick the landing, also.
Yeah.
They didn't stick the landing, and they also went, you're playing a character that's not your character. And I feel like creating your own character and choosing your own appearance is key to an MMORPG.
I would agree with that. I had high hopes for that one, but it might still end up being fun, but
I will say my biggest frustration with PoE's customization right now is I can't get away from my character portrait. So no matter how much my character looks like a cool big deer huntsman, I still look like an angry human.
Yeah. Like I would love for PoE to actually add in some semblance of character customization. Like, quite honestly, like, that's the best part of Diablo 4, was that you could actually create a character that looked like you wanted to.
I do think that this is a holdover from, like, basically every other ARPG, where every other ARPG, the role, the class is a very defined character.
Yeah.
And it does provide some interesting things, because playing through as a Marauder is definitely different than playing through as a Shadow. I feel less like a bad person when I play through as a Marauder.
That is a thing, yes.
Boy, the Shadows just here, like, isn't murder cool? I love it.
I mean, it's the solution to all your problems.
Yeah. I mean, Marauder's just a Karui. Just a Karui. Like,
which is very interesting, because, like, there's a lot of stuff where it's interesting that you're kind of just a Karui.
As someone who has played a lot of Marauder-based characters, I really enjoyed the Trials of the Ancients, or Trials of the Ancestors expansion, just for the interactions with the gods that you've been hearing about for ages. Okay, Kodra, I flipped the topics in order because I'm very curious about your conversation about the financialization of everything in PoE.
I mean, so this is there was a video by Dan Olson, Unfolding Ideas, about, like, basically it was about NFTs and crypto, and also how, like, the goal is to turn everything into an asset worth trading, and, like, the mindset that comes with that. And boy, that feels like the mindset, like, in the dialogue surrounding anyone engaging with Trade League and PoE.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yep.
I mean, you're converting the thing.
Are you doing? Are you doing 12 divs per hour? Then you're trash.
I do not care.
Yep.
Yeah, like,
same.
Mostly the thing is like, I like that I can turn the thing that I like to do into any other item in the game.
The thing is, I do like engaging with trade. I find trade interesting. I find the hyper capitalization of the PoE player base disgusting, repellent. So,
yes.
like, I am both intrigued and turned off by this in equal measures. It's very, very challenging, actually. Because, like, yeah, I absolutely, like, when you boil it down, it's kind of like, hey, we're all kind of working together. And so, like, I'm able to get other people to go get this item for me, or I'm able to use people's old gear that they've discarded to, like, help myself out. And, like, it's really cool. You reuse the stuff rather than just, like, sending it off into the ether. And on the other hand, like, you build this culture that's all about grind, and how much currency can you make. And we are in the middle of income inequality, wealth inequality, the league.
Yeah, it's worse than Last League was.
It's worse than Last League when the Sanctum printers go burr. The Sanctum printers still go burr, and no one's doing it.
Because it's not good enough.
It's not good enough. Like,
Yep.
the biggest
How
nerf,
many Mage Bloods did you get dropped this week?
Yeah, the biggest nerf to Sanctum was, frankly, in the Forbidden Tomes. So obviously this should price up Sanctum Tomes. Sanctum Tomes are cheaper this league than last league.
Because they come from maps.
And you can, if you can do uber hard content, you can juice the maps ridiculously. But also, if you're just trying to emulate these cool streamers, you're gonna hate life, because the juice in these maps will murder you.
Oh yeah, like I had that decision this week where, you know, like this was the other topic that was on there is I have switched over my short-lived Volcanic Fissure of Snaking character to turn it into a Chieftain RF character. Just to try that out again. And honestly, it's like way better than I gave it credit for. But like I can technically do juiced T16 content, juiced with the, you know,
define your level of juicing.
Right, exactly. Like whatever, you know,
Whatever
I can do those maps. Wildwood, that's the name of it.
Yeah,
I want to call it the Upside Down.
So, and that's the thing. I just did a T16 like with like 8K wisps. Actually, it was crazy lucrative for me.
Like I didn't enjoy it as much because it took more time than I wanted to have in a map.
Yeah, that'll happen.
And that's fine. And like mostly it's a scenario of everything but the tankiest mobs evaporate. But those tankiest mobs, when they've got 3 wisps on them, become miserable to fight.
Yeah, so I had a 3 wisp red beast.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds awful. So like right now, my comfy space is doing Cemetery and Tropical Island, which is a T11 and a T12, and doing them as many wisps as I can get into it, and you know, running a T11, T12 map, and that is the happy space for me right now, and it produces decent results. Like I get like little versions of the big explosions that the streamers show off, but also it's just more manageable.
I was actually about to ask, does that allow you to get Guardian maps?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I think you have to have a T14 to get a Guardian map.
I think you need a T14 to get a Guardian map, and so I need T14s.
But T8 is the line that you cross to get tier 0s.
Oh, okay.
So anything higher than tier or T8 can drop, you know, the chase uniques. So
well, but even then, you're not really juicing, right? Unless you've set up your atlas for juicing, and by that I mean
I did. I've got perma delirium. I've got perma. Well, not perma, but like I always have abysses.
So you're doing the abyss and the are you wandering pathing?
I'm not wandering pathing. I should do wandering path.
And all of the quant and
I've got all the quant. I've got all the quant nodes.
All the quant and map modifier.
Yeah. So like I've got a baby version of that right now. I'm still running whatever the node is that is I don't have to run scarabs. So I'm not fully juicing like
you're not fully juicing. You're still stream of consciousing.
Yeah, which is fine. Like it is manageable, and I'm over sustaining my maps so that I can just keep chain running them. But I've also still never seen a King in the Mist.
I've seen 3 King of the Mist. I killed it the first time, and then I've been trying to get the other achievements. And some of the achievements, I do not like the one achievement, which is kill the King of the Mist without getting hit with either the standstill or must move attack, because he has 3 different callouts for each of those attacks. 2 of them are in English. One of them's in his weird language. Is it Gaelic? I don't know, but I don't know what Rith means. Apparently that means stand still. But yeah, I've been trying to do challenges, which means I've been trying to do a lot of the Eldritch Gaze achievements.
Yeah, that's kind of miserable. Like just the sheer number you have to do.
Yeah, 250 totems, and then 250 of each.
Yeah, 250 red, 250 blue.
And then 200 maps witnessed by the Maven with destructive play on. I really should do that, but also the only things I'm having the Maven witness right now are Guardian maps, so maybe I shouldn't. But yeah, I don't know. Like, this is my beef with with PoE, and I wish there was a way to like have a game like this that felt. There's so many things about this game and that I love, and the community's not really one of them. Community's a little bit. It's a different mindset than what I'm looking for, which is why I was really excited about Bell League. But like there is an amount where it's like I kind of like the access to the trade league. I just wish it didn't enforce this like grind mindset.
I love our little socialist guild.
Yeah,
but also I want access to the trade league. And like, to be fair, every league before this one, we still kind of did this thing, like dump stuff into the guild bank.
It's true.
We just didn't have all the tabs like we do now.
We have all the tabs, and we've been more serious about it. Like, I know all my maps have gone into the guild stash. That was not what I did in previous leagues.
Yeah, I also suspect that maybe next time I won't just throw all of my currency into the stash.
I haven't been throwing all my currency into the stash.
I was going to say,
I did for a long time, and then I stopped because it felt
Crafting
real
sucks.
weird. It felt real weird to empty the guild bank.
I will say I emptied the guild bank of fusings this week, and it did feel a little weird, but I also was pretty sure I had put that many fusings in, so I didn't feel too bad. But then I am now slowly rebuilding our fusings by converting some of our cheaper currencies into higher tier currencies, because you can walk a long path.
Oh yeah, no, I've made use of the alts to jewelers to fusings in a previous league.
Did you know you can
get enough of the damn things?
Did you know you can go all the way from wisdom to fusings?
Don't do that.
I mean, you can.
You
can.
Technically.
I mean, we do have 5,000 wisdom scrolls, and are
more than
5,000
wisdom scrolls.
Yeah, like we're now filling up an alternate little space down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mostly where my head's been at with this. It's like I do miss out. I would love to be able to buy I would love to be able to buy a Sandstorm Visage. I'm going to do that the day one of going into Trade League. I'd also love to be able to just buy a bunch of level 73 tomes, which I could have also done. Like, tomes are rarer than divs.
Well, like, the thing is like this week I have been trying to link 3 different items, and normally that's just, okay, I'm going to throw an amount of currency at buying fusings until, I get my items. But like now I'm doing the thing that Kodra explained of converting up currency to try and get fusings. And luckily, like, I had 2 link within a couple of fusings of each other.
Nice.
But I still have the 3rd one that I'm chipping away at to get, working. But yeah, like it's just, I feel like I've reached a plateau on all of my characters where I have gone as far with them as I can reasonably go without access to more specific items from trade. I am not good enough at crafting to perfect. Like, I got to a reasonable point where I can do T16s and I can, do all of the content that I care about in the game, but I can't really polish them yet.
Yeah. Once we're in Trade League, I'm going to need you to buy me a Devouring Diadem, because I never did hit the roll on that. And I mean, and the thing is, my character is functional without it, but that gives me a lot more defenses and frees up some nodes on the passive tree. So it would be a definite improvement, and it goes for like a little over a div, which pretty sure I put more than that into the guild bank.
Yeah, I was about to say we've got some divs in the guild bank.
I've had multiple things drop over the course of the league that were like, oh, that would be 6 div, But yeah.
Yes, I have been getting quite a lot of raw div, and apparently one of the things that I'm enjoying doing is a way to get a ridiculous amount of currency. I don't know if that has crashed now because Sir God publicized it. It probably has.
Probably.
What was it?
Tainted Oil.
Oh yeah. I mean, it probably crashed a little bit, but like, still does not change the fact that it is a thing that is not maps. It's going to stay a little high.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm going to continue grinding for, and I don't know what I will do if I manage to get one to drop, is a Simplex. Simplex.
I can't believe how expensive those are.
It's so silly. That is not the right price, but it doesn't drop in maps, and it's so good.
But people are doing heists. Like, all the replicas are super cheap.
Right. Well, and tailoring orbs are 1 div. And those used to be like one of the highest priced currencies.
People are doing heist. A lot of heist. Because
people
heist has some jackpots.
Are people
really
doing
does.
heist for Simplexes?
I mean, they're not getting them, but
Yeah,
apparently.
maybe Simplexes are actually just that rare. But yes, they're going for like 200 divine, which is bananas. But the item is also
That's more
bananas.
expensive than a Squire. Freaking Squire.
But
Well, I mean,
if you
but
manage to get-
squires and mage bloods and headhunters are dropping like candy for people, right?
I guess so.
Yep. I mean, multiples at once. in some instances.
Yeah,
I will say it is also indicative of like you see the highlights. I dropped into like Empyrean Gaming's Twitch channel just to like while I was also doing some stuff. They had gone for like a couple of hours and had not completed a single map.
I can believe this.
They go in, play until someone dies, and everyone exits the map. And hope they collect as much loot on the way as they get. Which, granted, it's a lot of loot they're collecting along the way.
well,
But these maps are so hard.
Well, that particular group, for example, has players that are 100% devoted to doing nothing but selling items all day long. And they're in on the cut of whatever that group's getting. But like all they do is act as a broker all day long to liquidate the things that they found. And like, that's a whole other level of nonsense that I never want to do.
It's the financialization of everything.
And once again, this is why I enjoyed Delve, because it was a chill thing that I did that just consistently produced enough currency for me to turn into whatever else I wanted.
I'm actually kind of curious if fossils are a little more expensive this league as a result.
They have held their prices pretty good. What is the hot fossil is different this league than it was last league, because the one that's kind of the new hotness is hollow fossils, which are the ones that give an abyss socket on an item.
Yeah, to use with the ward and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because abyssal jewels are not gems.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, so and also all the people that are running Abyss as their map farming strategies are getting some phenomenal abyssal jewels.
Are they actually looking at like identifying?
I don't know.
abyssal
I don't know if
jewels?
they're picking those up or not.
I can't
but
imagine that would show up on their loot filters.
Well,
Probably
if you
not.
have abyssal gaze, you don't have to identify abyss jewels. They drop corrupted with 5 or 6 mods.
Yep.
Most of these will be terrible, but some of them will be the best items in the game.
Yeah.
Is there a way to get your loot filter smart enough to know what's a good jewel that drops corrupted or not?
Probably.
Interesting.
Yeah, like it'll specifically highlight anything that's double corrupted.
I mean, if it drops corrupted, then the filter can know what mods are on it. So it'll probably highlight anything with more than one like high value mods.
Yeah. Like it won't be smart enough to know, oh, hey, these 3 mods are perfect synergy for this build, but it'll know this is a, high roll on all of these things.
Well, unless you are specifically filtering for those types of roll. Like you could build
Sure, you could do that. Not sure people do, but you could do that.
I do like how in that interview they brought up the comment about a combat log and are like, we've never been happy with any ideas we have. I guess we could just dump all of the data into a file and let the community build tools around it.
Yeah. Yes,
Yes,
please do
fine.
that.
Yes,
do
please.
That would be perfectly sufficient.
It
Something
wouldn't be
is better than
ideal,
nothing.
but it would be much better than the current state.
Yeah.
It would in fact be I feel like letting the community build tools around your game is kind of the PoE way.
Well, and to be fair, like PoE has some of the best tools ever that I've played with in games, and they're all community driven.
It's because the game is like 10 miles deep, so these things had to be built so people could make some sense of it.
It's 10 miles deep and 10 miles wide. It's a nightmare.
Craft of Exile, for example, is the most ludicrous site ever, and it's amazing. I still can't understand crafting.
I've definitely learned how to use Craft of Exile.
I managed to figure out how to use it to tell me like how to go about making a shield with +1 cold gems. Like, and that's as far as I've gone with it, because God, that site.
My first use for it was figuring out how to roll cluster jewels.
Cluster jewels are way easier than I realized to roll.
Yep.
Did not realize that every base basically has some specific things that can roll on it.
Yeah, and those notables have their own tags, and so you can use fossils. Fossils are really good for clusters.
Well, as is harvest crafting.
Yeah, I feel like clusters have enough, pardon the pun, clustering of their tags that fossils are better for them. Like most of the notables I'm trying to get on my clusters usually have the same tags, and so I can really juice those tags.
Yeah.
And then there's spell suppression.
Well, and then there's spell suppression. Bell is actually correct that the best way to get spell suppression probably is from cluster jewels, because the spell suppression is a small, which isn't great because you can only get one notable on it. But I can actually, I was looking at this. I can get two of the notables I was looking for. I could get both of them on the dual wield cluster. So I'm probably going to start looking for that.
So the ones that I rolled like I did this week, I literally threw them in the harvest bench and did Reforged Defense once on them, and it hit.
Nice.
So like it was super easy. Like there were like two different notables you could get, but the better of them was the one that kept surfacing almost every time.
Was this a small, medium, or large? Okay, small. Yeah, that would probably be better in the bench. If you're trying to get 3 notables on a large, you probably want fossils.
Right. You can also just YOLO chaos spam them.
YOLO chaos spam them.
Don't do that.
I mean, like, to some extent, chaos becomes the easiest crafting option after a while. Because, like, last league, I was selling off my chaos on a regular basis just to keep it from stacking up to 5,000.
Yeah.
And if you've got 5,000 chaos, it's just, like, you can just keep spamming.
Yeah, it's the same with sorting algorithms. The easiest one is BOGO sort. Just randomize the list and see if it's in the correct order.
Yeah, rerolling flasks is usually the bane of my existence.
What? You can alt spam those.
You can, but you just have to do a lot of it until you get the combination of items you actually wanted. I tend to throw them in the currency tab and then type a partial string match for the thing that I want into the search bar and wait for the flask to actually light up and then look at it to see if, it's the thing I want. I mean, generally speaking on my characters, I want flagellant flasks, which are the, 3 charges every time you get hit.
No, that wouldn't work for me. I don't like getting hit. Oh, wait, does that count when you hit yourself?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Bone Shatter generates lots of charges.
Wow, yeah. Me just realizing how busted Bone Shatter is.
Okay, so a topic just showed up. Do we actually know what those are?
We do.
Yeah.
Because their stream is like right now, so we know what those are now.
Okay, what is the new magic or class? The caster.
So you remember Realm from FF6?
Yeah.
Artist?
Pictomancer.
And there's an actual like gameplay video showing off some of the abilities, and they're very like cell shaded, like blobs of paint drawing things.
Kind of amazing.
It looks pretty neat.
There's also a new limited job.
Geomancer?
It's not Geomancer. Would you like to play Pokemon?
Beastmaster?
It's
Yep.
Beastmaster.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. Something to go out and collect. But yeah, I'm real interested to see what like the backstory and everything on Pictomancer is going to be.
Please tell me that Blue Mages and Beastmasters will be able to group together.
I have no idea, but I sure hope so.
Like I don't like Beastmaster. I don't think we have anything other than the name at this point. So it would be nice.
I mean, Blue Mages can already join any, like, you can't duty finder with it. You can join normal groups.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a full formed group.
Yeah. So in theory, yeah. I mean, you ought to be able to like take a group of Blue Mages and Beastmasters in, and the Beastmasters catch what they want, and the Blue Mages watch for the skills they want, and yeah, we'll see.
At some point, I actually need to catch back up on the story. I had started doing that, and then I found Island Adventures and unlocked that, and haven't returned.
I think I'm one patch behind at this point, so yeah, I need to get caught up. The last thing I did was I went to the other moon and fought a dude.
I am not sure if I've gotten that far. Last I was playing, I was in Final Fantasy IV Land.
Yes.
So is
Okay.
Is Pictomancer going to be? What do we know about it?
I mean, it's a caster DPS, and like the attacks that they showed with it were like some splashes of paint and like drawing a Moogle that shot a thing, and sketching a landscape that did something.
Okay.
But yeah, your weapon is a giant paintbrush, unsurprisingly.
Oh, that's cool.
The character that was showing off the stuff was dressed like Realm. I'm curious whether like Realm will actually be introduced as an actual character or not.
I mean, who knows? But that'll definitely be the artifact armor.
Oh, 100%.
Another thing on the horizon is we're not super far off from the last Epoch 1.0 release.
Yay.
That's in February, right?
Early February, yeah.
Yep.
Really looking forward to that.
And I think before the end of the month, their version of trade goes live.
Still not sure if I'm participating in that, quite frankly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah, like I kind of expect that, at least for the most part, I will do the whatever their non-trade thing is that juices your drop rates, because you can still build up a currency between people, you're grouping with that lets you trade with them.
Yeah, it's not SSF. You can still play together, but you don't.
But if like you and I group together, I can trade items to you if a specific thing drops for me that you need.
Right.
So like that seems cool. Although like the only thing that would make me halfway want to start a trade character is there's items I've never seen that create builds. Like you can't have certain builds without this item. I'm looking at you, Helm of the Scurry. I've still never seen that thing.
Yes, well.
There's also a number of necromancer items I've never seen.
Still have never seen the polar bear chest. I need to check and see if that build still works.
That'll be interesting. Do we have any other things we want to talk about?
I went to OrcaCon this weekend.
Somehow I completely skipped that. Yeah.
And I took my son, and this is our first convention where he is going to every single day, and it's been real good.
Awesome. What kind of a con is OrcaCon?
It is a board game convention and tabletop role-playing game, but mostly board games. He did an intro to tabletop role-playing game session with me, and while it was definitely a good intro to tabletop role-playing games, the actual session was based off of Doctor Who, which he was not familiar with. So that was a little awkward. He's also been playing Crokinole, which he is pretty good at.
Quite good at.
One of my friends got real into that, like to the point of making his own board, because he was already a woodworker.
It's very fun. But yeah, it's fun being able to do conventions with him. And he has a lot of con stamina. He was like there from about like 11 yesterday until like 8. It was quite impressive. Anyway, we've played a lot of new board games. I think there's a lot of games coming out that are zombie themed. I guess not terribly surprising.
Or are zombies back?
Zombies are back. Did they ever go away?
I thought we had kind of moved on from zombies. Maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, I feel like zombies never actually went away.
The Walking Dead kind of kept it with us for quite some time.
I also played a game that is kind of akin to tic-tac-toe, but you're blindfolded. It's like a traditional game where you're like laying tokens out on a board, and the tokens are either like smooth or have holes, but like you're blindfolded the whole time, so you're having to feel the board and like try and remember like what is the position of everything and what did my opponent just do. And is there a way for me to make a winning move this turn? And if I accidentally make a winning move and I don't realize it, my opponent can be like, actually, the game is solved right now, so I guess I'll claim the game's over. It's fun.
Well, that's probably a show. Any final thoughts?
Star Ocean 2 is a really good game.
The Gunslinger is not an amazing book, but Drawing of the Three makes up for it?
The Gunslinger is an interesting book. Drawing of the Three is better, yes.
Yeah.
Wasteland is, well, you'll see.
Okay.
Blaine is a pain, and that is the truth.
Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.